Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, we're down at the end of an old logging road. This used to be an old log dump. The logging trucks that come down here, this is all ocean right here. It probably looks like a lake to you guys. And they come down here to this end of the logging road and dump all their logs over the bank here behind the camera and then barge them out. But I took Sarah hunting this morning up in the hills behind us. She's never shot a deer before. And we snuck into the same spot where I recorded those elk earlier a few days ago. Sure enough, there's a young buck there. And she's out of her canned meat. And I said to her, I go, well, this could be your first deer if you want. She's like, yep, I'm gonna do it. And she just couldn't get her eyes on it. It didn't happen. So, well, maybe she'll get a bigger one another time. It was pretty exciting. I can show you the video of it.
I don't see it. You will. He's looking at us.
But anyway, right now we are looking, this is the Alberni Inlet. I took you guys on my boat ride home. I took the boat out of the water last week and I ripped from here all the way north into Port Alberni. So if you go out this way, it goes out to where I normally take everybody fishing, out to Bamfield, Barkley Sound. So right across on this side, some pretty remote stuff, and some friends of ours have had many encounters with these people right over top of these hills right here, all the way down, both sides actually, all over the place around here. All over. The boat racing up here right now, heading out. But anyways, let me see if I can get one email shared while I'm here. Shall we? Broke one side of my glass, my reader's off my backpack, of course. Oh well. Now, I can scroll all the way down to the bottom here. Should have done this earlier, but hopefully this microphone's working. I think it is. All right. Let's have a listen, shall we? What does this say? No title in this email. It starts off with ran across the river. Steve, I love your stories and your attitude towards the Sasquatch issue. My, at the time, 12-year-old son and I were camping about 6 miles from Alpine, Arizona in 2017. We were looking for a place to shore fish on the east fork of the Black River right around dusk. And I was driving about 20 miles per hour and I spotted a large figure in the water. I stopped and said, "What the F is that?" My son looked up from his phone and yelled, "It's not a bear." The creature was in the water up to its knees and was probably about 9 feet tall. It then looked at us and ran swiftly across the river, which is shallow at that time of year, which was June. And 3 nights later at 2:30 in the morning, I was woken up in our tent by stick knocking close by. And then suddenly, a pack of wolves, which came through our camp every third night, went absolutely nuts and sounded like they were attacking something. What? A pack of wolves through your camp? The stick knocking got way more intense, and we heard yelps of pain from the wolves. It was too dark to see anything, and it scared the crap out of me. We packed up and went to a motel for the next night, and then went and camped at Luna Lake Campground, which was well populated. I'm wondering if you have heard of wolves and Sasquatch ever having battles. I'm ex-military and I have deployed several times to Iraq and Afghanistan, but was wounded in 2006 and I lost half of my leg, but I managed to hunt and fish in the mountains of Arizona. Thank you for your time and your efforts. Let me use my name because I don't care what people say or think about me. Sincerely, yours, Brian Henshaw. Brian, appreciate that, man. That's a crazy encounter. And nope, I haven't heard nothing about wolves and Sasquatch combo, I don't think. I don't think I have. Crazy. Appreciate that email, man. Sorry about your leg, man. Damn. Oh, finally that boat just ripped all the way out here and then he turned around. Oh, no, he didn't. That's another boat. Sorry. I'm not paying attention to the boats. This is titled Ireland. Hi, Steve. I watch you every day and listen to all the emails. I live in Ireland. Maybe it's hard to believe, but it is true. It was in the 80s. We lived in the country in Cork on the bottom of the Galtee Mountains. It was a winter's evening and started snowing. We had to go to the store before it closed and before we got snowed in. We were on the road, no one was out. We met no cars and we were just driving along. We rounded the bend on the road and there on the side of the road, there was something like I've never seen before. A tall, hairy man. The road was only wide enough for 2 cars. Whatever it was about 8 feet tall and hair from top to bottom. I said nothing to my husband. I was only looking to try to figure out in God's name what was that. And at the same time, I see my husband had turned the car to shine the lights on it. I said nothing, I was so shook. He then straightened the car. As the thing turned his shoulder and head, which was like he had no neck, so it was just top part of his body that turned slightly to look at us. There was nowhere to go. We had to pass, there's no punctuation, sorry guys. There was nowhere to go, we had to pass it, and close enough that if we opened the window, we could touch it. Oh no, yikes. I said nothing to my husband, and just then he gunned the car past it to the degree we almost crashed into the wall at the next crossing. And it was only then the two of us said, "What was that?" The two of us saw the same thing. It was very dark in color, maybe very dark brown to black. And it was the most frightening thing I ever saw. It was like the tallest and broadest man we had ever seen. He towered over the car as we passed. We sure did not return that way. And I couldn't stop talking about it, trying to make sense of it. When we told the family, they just laughed. Anyone we said it to just made fun, so we stopped telling. My husband has now passed. Oh, sorry to hear that. My husband has now passed, but we often spoke together about it. But it is so frustrating when you know what you saw, but no one believes you. It has changed my life forever. I'd be very nervous to go in the woods. I used to love to walk, but that put a stop to me even in the present day. I can't look at the woods or the mountains without thinking what's up there. Thanks, Steve, for making a place where I can write and tell what happened without being mocked and laughed at. But I would never want to see it again. I now know what it was, but who will believe me? Yours sincerely, Mary Brockman. Mary, I absolutely appreciate you sharing that truth with us. You found your people, right? You found your people. So close you could have touched it. I'll bet he gunned it. He must have gunned it hard. Wow. All right, I'll tell you what. We're supposed to be heading back home. All the animals are at home. I was looking to share one email from here, but I might stop on the way up and see if maybe there's something. See if maybe there's another real good view up there that maybe I could show you guys. All right. But anyway, there you go. I showed you a bit of a view anyways. I took you guys outdoors a little bit. I'll see what I can find on the way out of here. We got about an hour and a bit drive to get out of here. All right. Not much of a view here today, and I gotta get these windows in between the rain showers, which I'm sure there's another big one coming any second. And where Sarah and I filmed that big bull elk was straight across through those trees in a little pocket over there, across the river down here. And there's definitely doing some elk in here. There's big rubs all over the place. I'll find them again here one day. I let out a couple bugles before I set the camera up, so who knows? Maybe one will come walking out before we leave. That'd be so cool. But in the meantime, let's hear some more people, shall we? This is titled, Secondhand Story of Dogman. Please don't give my name out. All right. My brother, before he moved to Texas after his divorce, during his marriage to his first wife, they were traveling down a secondary blacktop road in central Kansas. He came to a T in the road. It was daylight in the middle of the day. Then he was looking for traffic, looking left and right, and he noticed a big bipedal dog man. It had the funny looking dog legs and it was big and black. I asked him, what did he do? He said he turned right and mashed on the gas to get away. He said the dog man kept up for a little bit, finally drove away from the dog man. Then he told me when he lived by Chanute, Kansas, he's seen another dog man. He hasn't given me the details yet. I told him he's probably tagged. I know of several dogman stories in Kansas, and yes, we have Bigfoot too. There have been reported 10-foot tall Bigfoot by Milford Lake. And yes, we have a military fort close by Fort Riley. Recently, my Brookville, Kansas. I think he meant recently by Brookville, Kansas. We've had cow mutilations. And the farmer took up the drone to see it from the sky where the cow had died. And he found 3 points on the ground where the ground had been dug up in a triangular shape. Where the cow died, no other animals will cross over. They sent the cow to Kansas State University to get an autopsy. I'll leave the link of the lady who interviewed the farmers and the veterinarian at Kansas State. You can find it on the YouTube channel Earth Files. Also, Kat Hansen YouTube channel. It's been dormant for a couple years, but it has a lot of Bigfoot and dogman information. She talks about the Bigfoot language and many other topics like the portals. End of email. There you go. Look at that. I actually shared a couple channels. The dogman thing, excuse me, just isn't that common, is it? Compared to what normally goes on out here, what normally abnormally goes on out here, all around me in all these hills. Excuse me, by the way. This next email is titled "Sneaking Up on Bigfoot Twice." Holy shit. About 10 years ago, I was given the opportunity to learn how to grow marijuana from some of the best growers in the world. This in turn brought me to your backyard, Vancouver Island. I've been in the country for about 3 months. I was starting to get a little bored not leaving the property much due to the nature of the work, so I decided maybe I should go walk around a little. Later, I was told not to do that since the people around would find that strange. Anyway, since I need to stretch my legs, I thought, well, if I can't walk on the roadway, I would explore the woods, and since I lived on a dead end attached to a tree farm, I figured that would be a good idea. So early morning, I was done with my nightly task, and I wanted to look at some of that kick-ass scenery you've shown us on this channel, so I headed out. I get to the entry of this tree farm and stopped to light a smoke, and of course, I was facing into the wind, and smoke got into my eye and pissed me off, so I threw the smoke down. This becomes relevant, so bear with me. Anyway, I got into this tree farm and noticed no one has been in here for a long time, so I figured it was okay to be there. Public property kind of thing, so I walked on it. I was trying to enjoy nature, so I was being as silent as I could when I started to notice how quiet it was. There should have been some kind of chatter, but nothing. As I'm walking down this dirt road, I came across some garbage. A sign of a guerrilla grow operation. People growing on state land. It was old trash, so I figured, F it, keep going. But now I was really being silent. I kept going on this dirt road when I decided to get up on this ledge that followed the road, and I followed that for about 50 yards, came around this bend, and it was the end of the road. Behold the mountains I wanted to look at. Now, seeing the end of the road and no one around, I figured, okay, I'm free to relax and enjoy the view. So now the ledge I was walking on came to its end, and for some stupid reason, I decided to hop off it. This edge was about 2 feet high, and I jumped off it, getting to be about 3-foot jump. I landed on a car hood buried with a little dirt over it. A makeshift early warning trap left over by guerrilla growers, I assume. The sound was so loud, I'm sure it was heard miles away. For sure, this was not expected and scared the shit out of me. When I landed, something right in front of me and big ran through 25 yards of some of the thickest foliage I've ever seen in 4 seconds. And when it stopped, 2 sapling trees come flying in the air, roots and all. When the trees came flying out of this overgrowth, I was gone. Ran as fast as I could all the way home. No doubt. Now home, I was pissed off for 2 reasons. 1, my partners are right about not exploring, and 2, I effing forgot my cigarette I left when I started my walk. Damn, smokes are expensive. Anyway, I had to get back to work and start my day and just kind of put what happened out of my mind. So I worked for a few hours. Now it's midday, and I have another great idea. I was going to get the same sun layout for a while. Well, of course, I laid down and passed out for 2 hours, and waking up to one hell of a sunburn. Excuse me. Now, late on a few tasks and burnt to shit, I rushed into my garden to get to work. I worked for another 2 hours, and now I was hurting. It had been a long day, so I laid down, and again I was out for about 30 minutes. I awoke to one of the many alarms I had and tried to get out of bed, and now found myself stuck to my bed sheet. With being burnt from head to toe, I went to work. I covered myself in resin from the marijuana, and now was wrapped up like a human joint in my bed sheet. What? So now burnt, tired, and stuck in my bed sheet, I'm a little pissed off, so I decided to go outside and soak in an old water tank I had out front. As I go through the front door, I'm yelling at myself. Open the door, and another alarm goes off, again loud as shit. Now my sheet was white, but really could not see. As I stepped onto my porch, something massive was in my yard. All I saw was something big and black, and I felt the ground shake like a semi-truck just went by. So I jumped into the water tank and finally got this damn sheet off of me. As I look around, nothing. It was now getting dark. I failed to mention I'm 40 years old, about 175 pounds, 5'9", not a tough guy, but fear no man. All anyone can do is kill you. And well, all your problems are over then. So I was a young man. I've always disliked bullies. I get the same from you. Nothing's going to deny me the right to enjoy my world, nor take from me what is mine. Like I said, no fear, or well, I thought. Anyway, nighttime sets in, I make dinner, smoke some great pot, and listen to the radio when all of a sudden alarms go off, and I lose hydro, what you Canadians call electricity, and half of the house. On half of the house. This was somewhat normal. It would happen at least once a week, and I would have to make my way to the front gate to the power shack. This is not what I needed right now. My driveway was in an S shape, and halfway the trees made a natural canopy. That was, I have to say, always creepy, but it had to be, so off I go, and yeah, I ran there and back this time, LOL. So I get in, reset everything, and back to work. Well, shit, 5 minutes later, another trip. Shit again, I said to myself, and yep, back out and in. And this happened 3 more times. Same 3 breaker all 3 times. Now I'm getting a little worried. Is someone getting ready to rob me? And yet again, breaker trip. Only this time I did not restart all my equipment. Someone was effing with me. So now I'm pissed off like no other, and I'm thinking I'm gonna have to man up and protect my hard work, but really was just wishing it is my imagination. So I am alone, middle of nowhere, no gun, no phone, no hope of winning, but it's going to be a fight for sure. So I had a baseball bat, my only weapon, and proceeded to head out to the power shack. And as I make my way out, I'm walking this time and talking as I go, okay, here I am, let's get to this. I said that a couple of times. Get to the shack, reset my breaker, walk over to my gate to make sure it was still padlocked. And hey, good luck. A cigarette, which I really needed. Typos probably. However, I was pissed at myself again for dropping another smoke. What the F? It's 9 miles to a store. F. And I'm talking out loud, yelling at myself, and at the trees, LOL. While I'm still expecting a fight, mumble some more threats and start my way back. I get to my S-curve, dark as F, and I stop and go to light my smoke. And F, this smoke already been lit. What the F? As I notice this fact to my right and 5 feet above me, I hear the most frustrating sigh I've ever heard. As well, this blew out my match. F me checkmate. This whole time I was thinking I was dealing with people or well, humans, like I said, no fear. And this sabe was 9 feet tall at least, and it was in fact what I snuck up on early that morning. This thing's sight was so powerful, I felt it ripple through my whole body like a bass speaker. I thought, okay, you probably meant scream, right? Or something. Sigh? Scream? You typed in sight. It was so powerful, I felt it ripple through my whole body like a bass speaker up close. In a nanosecond, it all came clear. And now it's time to fight. This, of course, would be me fighting to stay alive, and since it was 12 inches from me, I knew it was over. I'm dead. Like you said before, pray. Pray don't hear the predator. Like you said before, pray don't hear the predator. This thing gave up its position intentionally. And well, I'm still alive, so it was my move. I was in shock. All I could do was take a seat. I dropped my bat, took a deep, deep breath and said, "Hello, my friend, my name is Tim." Thanks to the First Nations for cluing me in on giving my name. I paused a second and said, I'm sorry for intruding into your home. I just wanted to look at the mountains. I'm sorry I was so loud and I woke you. I'm sorry I did not know that was your home. I'll not bother you again. It felt like an hour had gone by, really. It was just a few seconds, so I took another deep breath and I got up, leaving my bat on the ground and said, "Thanks for not killing me." And on I went to the house. That was the longest walk I've ever taken. This being could have killed me at any time if it wanted to, and it chose not to. Some questions. I never saw the being. I never smelled the being. I did not hear it in my head. Whatever this being was, it saw me come out the first time to reset my breakers. But how did it know what a breaker is, let alone which one to trip? And yes, the same breaker every time was in the shack. Was I too high for its mental message to get through? Do these people see infrared? That's how they knew that what breaker to trip? These beings outclass us in every way. So why is it that most of the time they see humans they're going the other way? And last, why did it choose to let me live when it could have killed me at any time? Over the years, I assumed me, a little human, snuck up on it within feet, probably because it had been going to bed or taking a shit, I assume. So this made it interested in me. Then again, I got the jump on it coming out of my house. A total fluke for sure. And I have to say, I think, like humans, there are dickheads and bullies, and same goes for the Sabe. I know this isn't the end. To be continued. TOC. Okay, man. We'll be waiting. It's starting to rain on my camera. That sounds like quite the adventure. Probably maybe a little excessive marijuana smoking going on there, but what do you do, right? Crazy. I wonder whereabouts in Vancouver Island. Not exactly, but roughly. South, middle, North Island. I wonder. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. My camera's getting rained on. I've ruined so many of that. I've got the Sony Handycam up right now. They don't like the water too much. I don't have a cover on it right now. But if it wasn't raining, I was gonna drag Sarah all the way down to the river bottom there and walk the whole riverbed and look for the most popular elk crossings and put some trail cameras on there, but she's already too soaking wet and cold from this morning's hunt across the valley here. Anyway, back to the man cave. I'll finish this up from the man cave, but at least I finally got you guys out of the house with me, right? I'll see you guys very shortly. We made it back. We made it back, and oh my God, is it raining. You would not believe how hard it is raining out there. It's knocking the maple leaves out of the tree. It's raining so hard. And then there's just some thunder. I thought it'd be too cold for thunder. Guess not. But it is ripping. Ripping. Where's my glasses? Had some. Here we go. Poor Sarah. She's all bummed out. She didn't get her first buck. She's been spoiled, right? 2 elk. Just like that. Her first 2 years hunting, and then she just thinks it's going to happen all the time, right? Well, time for some hard lessons in the wilds, in the real world. Excuse me. But anyway, I gotta tell you, I gotta share a funny with you guys before I share this email. You're gonna love this. Now, was she read this or saw a video? Either way, she's laughing how she goes, listen to this one. She goes, I think she did it on, the woman made a video of it. She's got 2 teenage daughters. And one daughter wanted to make some money. So she said if she cleaned up the entire kitchen and did a bunch of other stuff, she'd give her $50. So the daughter did everything she requested for the 50, and she pulls out 2 20s and a 10, and then she goes like this, okay, well, here's your $50 and that's good work, but here's $10, this goes to the tax man, and then follow me. And then she goes into her sister's room who did nothing, and she gave her $20, and this is for you for doing nothing. She's like, what? I did all the work, how's that fair? And she goes, that's right, and that's what you get if you vote for liberals. Oh my God, was that ever a good one? Made me laugh. Anyway, hope you got a laugh out of that too. But it's a lesson though, isn't it? Isn't it? Go work your ass off for 50. 10 of it goes to the tax man, and 20 goes to that person over there who didn't do nothing, okay? Now keep working. Oh, so funny. All right, this is titled NY. So I'm guessing that's meaning New York. Hi, Steve. I'm from Western New York, 27 years old. Grew up in the woods hunting, fishing, any excuse to be in the outdoors. Later, that passion has taken me across the country and back being a guide. I've had a few instances that have happened that to this day I can't find a logical explanation. 2 years before I left for Colorado, it was archery season around Halloween. All day things were quiet, with nothing being active in the area I was hunting. The afternoon passed and sunset came, so I decided to still hunt my way out because of how dead things seemed. On my way out, I started to get the feeling I was being followed. At a point where a few trails crossed, I looked at my compass. It pointed in a direction that was not the remote direction I was supposed to be traveling. I thought it could have been my compass being faulty, which happens with cheap compasses. I also had the thought it was the place I was standing, where it was messing with my compass, so I walked another 50 yards. The compass reads another direction, now facing behind me. The feeling of being watched was very strong at this point, and I became a little unnerved. Deciding my compass was useless, and to add, a very cloudy night with no moon, I just headed one direction, and I knew I would hit a road. Anything's better than being in that area at that time. A little shook up about what just happened. I made it to the road, and then my truck, uneventful, thankfully. That sounds pretty creepy, man. That creeps me out, the compass thing. Let's fast forward a few years later. I'm in Estes National Park, Colorado. Holy thunder out there. Crazy. I don't know. Whoa, I don't know if you can hear that. It's thundering out there. I decided to take a fishing trip into the park to go after some cutthroats. Making to the trail that leads to a stream I wanted to fish. After 3 miles and fishing for a while, I decided to take a break next to the stream I was fishing and take in the scenery. A few minutes into my break, a decent-sized object, I'm assuming was a rock, hit the stream 10 feet from me. Sort of confused about what just happened, another hit the stream. My instincts were telling me to just go back to my car and go home. I waited a few minutes to make sure it wasn't some kids being kids. Nothing happened. No one or nothing walked away. And on my way home, I racked my brain of how in a place where I was, a rock could have made a huge impact like that twice. Now to just the other day from when I write this, I'm back in New York and it's opening day of whitetail archery season. A place where I had that weird compass incident, now 6 years ago. I found a tree I wanted to climb up and hunt out of. A very open grass area with a timber edge behind me. Keep that open area in mind. Awesome for deer heading back to their beds. And on my way in, I had a couple of decent-sized English walnuts drop right in front of me in a place where the last walnuts were 500 yards back. Whoa. Just ignoring that fact that the walnuts dropped in front of me, I made my way to my tree to hunt the morning. Creepy. A few hours passed and I hear what sounds like something striking a tree with some force. Bang. 1, 2, 3. Bang. After a couple hours, a log seemingly appeared out of thin air, dropping from about 15 feet. I convinced myself I was seeing things, until I decided to leave and investigate if I seen what I seen. And out in the middle of the grass lies the log/branch, about 8 inches in diameter and 3 feet long. No idea how it got there, except for the fact that I thought I seen it appear out of nowhere. How did it get there? I have asked around my area to see if I was the only one. I'm not. My local area has produced some recordings that compare to ones across the country. Stories that compare to everywhere else, no matter the geographical location. And I was beside myself once I asked
with your wise words of how to ask about these beings. The response was insightful. People need to be educated that these things exist. For that, I'm very appreciative of what you're doing, Steve. Leading by example is a very powerful thing. Keep up the great work. Many of us are behind you, 100%. The community is growing. Something I'll live my life by. Quote, be an asset, not a liability, unquote. Wish you the best, David. I wish you the best too, David. I hope it didn't take too long to find this email. I've tried to subtly suggest to everyone you got to look into the fact that there's something's possibly going on right paralleling our existence that we just can't quite see full time. That's a huge, huge, huge possibility. And all these hundreds of witnesses, thousands of witnesses that come up with experiences like this kind of point there, right? Right? And I'm sure the quantum thing. People with bigger brains than me have spent a lot of time studying the quantum physics, and I think they could probably explain it quite smoothly. Well, a lot smoother than I could, right? A lot smoother than I could, but it's a direction you probably got to go look to help fill in the puzzle piece that you're trying to fill in. You are trying to fill in. Does this ever freak anybody out? Anybody that's been here for any amount of time, maybe a few years, is this not amazing how many people are eyewitnesses to this and more? Isn't it freaking amazing? And I know it's going to be a handful of people watching going, oh, well, they're not all true. People make shit up. Sure they do. They sure do. But this day and age, what's the reward? I mean, there's got to be some other activities you could do to gain attention, if that's what you need, than doing this. Especially with the internet. If you haven't seen the crazy-ass, depraved shit that people do for attention because they're so absolutely messed up online. What is it now? Probably 90% of the dog shit you see online is just somebody looking for attention, looking for views, looking for likes. Whatever they're looking for, right? And I'll guarantee you, sitting down and taking the time out to write me an email to be read online, I don't see too much of a reward there for somebody who needs attention. Do you? Unless I'm missing something. And let's face it as well, how hard is it to make an email these days? How many of you, how hard is it for you to sit back and crank out an email even to a family member these days? It's not that easy to do. Trust me. I'm one. I know that. Believe me. I can barely even answer to emails, let alone go out of my way to find a frickin' YouTube channel and then sit back and dream up some kind of fantasy story that happened to me in the forest and then email it away. And then what? You get your, 2 to 5 minutes of it getting read online, and then there it goes. Then what? Then what does the person that's allegedly making up the story do? You know what I mean? I mean, there's not much there for a reward if you're mentally ill than other things you could be doing online to get attention. I'm just saying. What would the proportion be for actual events happening to people making it up here on my channel? I don't know. My gut tells me that the majority of not every single one, obviously. I mean, I've caught a few emails that just make me go, oh God, really? That's how messed up you are? You had to go out of your way to do that here? But I don't know. If I had to guess, my honest guess, my gut says, and I'm sure there's going to be lots that disagree with me, I would say 95% of the emails I've received are from legitimate eyewitnesses. That's just my guess. That's just me. It's probably, and you know what? If anything, I'll bet it's higher. That's my feelings on it. But on that note, I mean, what was it? 2 years ago, I had over 30,000 emails. It's amazing. The effort thrown down to keep everybody off the trail of truth is unfrickin' believable. That's what I think about first when I realize, sometimes when I think about, just how many people come here to make contact and share what they've seen. At this stage of the game, there's so many eyewitnesses. There's tens of thousands. And I don't know, I don't even know, I would never be able to guess what the ratio is of people that come here to watch and learn, people that come here to watch and learn and share what they've seen, and people that come here to watch and learn and they're not going to share shit about what they saw. Like, seriously, I'm thinking, well, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be right or wrong, but I got a funny, sneaky suspicion that there is a high probability that there just may be far more people out there not sharing than there is sharing the truth. That's what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? Throw it down in the comment section below and let me know. I'll check it. Hold on a minute. I got my dog wanting something. Hold on. All right. This one got Adventure Dog. She wanted to come in here and hang out on the floor beside me. Anyway, it'd be interesting to know what you guys think that ratio is. People, eyewitnesses willing to share compared to eyewitnesses not willing to share, but they're willing to listen to everybody else. I'll bet there's a big lopside there. This next email is titled, My Encounter. First of all, thank you for taking the time to share the encounters of real witnesses to this phenomenon. It's too easy, my friend. I live in upstate New York. I'm 62 years old, and I've been hunting and fishing since I was a kid with my dad. I had my encounter when I was 14 years old. I went with my parents to my grandparents' house on a midsummer Sunday afternoon. My dad and I would always take the time to walk back to a reservoir behind their house, about a 20-minute walk through the woods to go fishing. The reservoir is a freshwater supply for the local area and is patrolled by local NCON officers. NCON. That day, my father decided he wasn't going to go back with me. I've gone on a few times by myself before, and he told me, like usual, to stay on the trail, and if I wasn't back in an hour or so, he was going to come and find me. I walked back to the reservoir, started fishing, and immediately felt weird, like I was being watched. In fact, after about 20 minutes, all I wanted to do was leave. So I did, and headed back on the trail, only to hear leaves crunching and snapping of twigs above me on the hillside. I'd stop, the noise stopped. I'd go, I would hear it again. I thought I was going to meet up with the NCON officer following me out of the woods to arrest me or write me a ticket, but I was wrong. I then heard a loud crunch above me, and I stopped and I thought, okay, I'm going to stand here and wait for him to come down to me. Maybe he'll just warn me and not get my dad involved, and then a tree above me started shaking violently, back and forth. I bent down to see the base of the tree, and I could clearly see the base of that tree, but there was nothing there shaking it. Then there was a loud thump in front of me on the trail, and I could feel it in my feet, but I saw nothing. And then a super loud yell in my face that I felt rumble my chest and vibrate my whole body. And it was at that point I took off running as fast as I could out of there. I didn't look back until I got to my dad's car. I stood there catching my breath, waiting for something to come out of those woods, but nothing did. I didn't see anything there confronting me that day on the trail, and I never told anyone about this, especially my dad, for fear of him doubting me. I still don't know what that was, but maybe with more people coming forward with encounters, we'll be able to get the truth out. Thanks again, Mike from New York. Holy shit, Mike. That's a scary one. Excuse me, and you're not alone. You're not alone. So many of people have experienced something similar to that, it's silly. And will never be taught about it mainstream, right? That's such dirty pool. Like, why do that to a kid? You know what I mean? I know there's a lot of people out there that have allegedly have great relationships ongoing on their private rural property with some unknown people, beings, whatever you want to call them. And there's never a bad moment. They don't want to do anything to us. We're always safe. Well, okay, I get it. But I just don't understand why these absolute life-changing, terrorizing displays that something decides to do to the most innocent of human beings, kids, children. You know what I mean? That's pretty shitty. That's a shitty deal. That's a shitty deal. Why bother? You know? Why bother? There's some way nastier human beings out there if you want to screw somebody up for life. You know? So, I can't say what the hell did that to this man when he was a boy, but I can tell you this much. They don't like humans. That one does not like humans, right? What a shitty deal. I'm glad you're here, my man. I'm glad you're honest. You shared your honest experience here. I would be surprised if the power gets knocked out here pretty quick. We'll keep going. Hey Steve, thanks for spreading the truth and for speaking in plain language without all the BS. The more truth and less hype we share on the subject, the better we might someday all understand the big picture concerning Sasquatch. I'll try to keep this short, but I know me and it might get a little long-winded. Whether or not you share my name is up to you, as I just don't care anymore if people think I'm just another conspiracy nut. I'm soon to be 54 years old and live in nearly the geographical center of the U.S. This is farmland. Lots of wide open space with a majority of wooded areas simply lining rivers, lakes, and streams. The point being, not many places to hide if you're a giant-sized human-shaped being. And yes, I can tell the difference between a cow and a really big dude. I was living in Arkansas as a young kid when the legend of Boggy Creek came out, and my friends and I all talked about it often, wondering if it was true or just a boogeyman story made up to scare people. Even at 7 or 8 years old, I was inclined to believe that something really did exist out there that fit the description of the beast they described in the legend. It wasn't long after that my family moved to eastern Oklahoma and then to Kansas, where I've spent the last 44 years. As an avid hunter, fisherman, and all-around outdoorsman, I spent most of my free time out away from houses and paved roads, as immersed in nature as I can find, shrugging off the day-to-day stresses that would inevitably pile up if I didn't. My first recollection of an encounter happened during the summer of 1978. Being fairly new to the area, I had made only a few friends, and one, Brad, was particularly close as we shared many of the same interests. His parents had a small acreage, 20 acres or so, just a few miles up the road, which was bordered on one side by a muddy creek. And out in their back pasture, they had a pond where his father had parked a truck bed camper for us to camp in without having to pitch a tent or sleep on the ground. We spent many a night that summer fishing in the pond until early morning hours, then crashing in the camper until his mother would ring the old school bell on their back porch to let us know their breakfasts were ready. All in all, it was the most carefree time in my life, and I couldn't think of anything I would rather do. So one night while fishing, not really paying much attention to our poles, and sitting next to our campfire talking about whatever kids that age talk about, we heard a deep voice coming from the creek about 50 yards/meters to our left. We both stopped talking immediately and stared into the darkness in the direction of the creek. Silence. We looked at each other with a "what the" look, then went back to laughing and talking again. A few minutes later, we heard the voice from the creek again, and Brad yelled over in that direction, "Who's there?" There's no reply. We both decided that it was likely his dad playing a prank on us, but he didn't answer. We laughed it off and said out loud that we knew who was there and that they weren't fooling us. And at that point, there was a loud crack of breaking wood. We froze. Brad grabbed his flashlight and shined it toward the creek, scanning the bank for movement. We didn't see anything, but were shaken enough by it that we doused the fire and set off for the house. Whomever was out there could have our campsite if they wanted it. We didn't tell his parents the next morning why we had come back to the house in the middle of the night. They didn't ask. The morning after this, we went back out to clean up the campsite, and we both decided to see if we could figure out where the voice and the loud crack had come from. Lie down. What we found was on the other side of the creek. A large Osage orange tree branch, Google how hard that wood is, had been broken and twisted on a tree about 4 feet off the ground. We didn't hear the twisting sound, so it must have happened all at once, and neither of us could figure out what would be strong enough to break one of these branches. As for the voice we heard, neither of us admitted to hearing any actual words, but both agreed that it sounded like drunk mumblings or a language we didn't understand. We also agreed that we better not tell anyone for fear of them, parents/friends, accusing us of having been drinking or smoking something we shouldn't have been. Fast forward 30 years, and Brad and my friendship didn't last much longer than a couple years longer. As far as I know, he took the story to his grave. Life goes on, and I don't recall having any other encounters in the woods again until just the last few years. I'd always kept it in the back of my head, along with the thought that there actually could be some unknown species out there with abilities we can't comprehend. A few years back, my wife and I were hiking, no trails, in a wooded area along a creek, miles from any town, and several strange things occurred that I couldn't attribute to any natural animal behavior that I was aware of. Coming to a climax when we were ushered out of the area by several things yelling from a few hundred yards in a couple of different directions. My wife doesn't believe in the hoax that is Bigfoot, so I didn't say anything to her. But it reminded me of that night so long ago with my friend Brad, and we left. And I vowed not to go exploring in that area again. The few months that followed had me thinking about the possibilities of this creature and how it is that if they exist, we know so little about them. I tried to rationalize every story I'd heard or read or watched about them, and the only conclusion I could come up with is that they have to exist. I simply can't believe that so many people, for so many hundreds of years, have perpetuated the longest hoax in history. That just doesn't make sense. What makes sense is that myself and countless other people have witnessed these things firsthand, and though some have shared their stories, most, like me, have remained silent, for whatever reason. In those months, I came to just accept it, not needing any more proof than I already had, and not needing to convince anyone of anything. Then, just as I was making my peace with the whole mess, bam, I have another encounter. I was riding my motorcycle to work last summer. It was pre-dawn, and I was on the interstate highway between my hometown and the next. I had my high beam headlight on, and I could clearly see something standing in front of one of the large, green, reflective road signs off to the side of the highway about 3/4 to 1 mile ahead of me. I thought it was odd that I'd never noticed any trees between the road and that fence, some 40 yards away and paralleling the highway. But that's what my mind told me it was. I think I thought it must be a young cedar tree because whatever it was vertical and didn't have a canopy like a deciduous tree. At any rate, I looked away to my left and then back, and it was gone, ? Now, I was riding about 60 miles per hour at the time, so I'm guessing this all took place in the span of about a minute. Since I'm estimating that I could have been as much as a mile away when I first noticed it, I thought that it was odd, but then figured that it was just my mind playing tricks on me, as I was certain that there were no cedar trees growing in the right-of-way, and I'd been making that same trip every day for about 6 years. But then as I neared the sign in question, about 200 yards away from it, out of nowhere, there was suddenly someone standing on the shoulder, and he was huge. It made my heart skip a beat, and I instinctively leaned to the left and changed lanes. In the split second I took to wrap my head around what I had just seen, a massive 9 to 10 foot tall, hairy, massive dude just standing there with his arms to his side. I twisted the throttle, and before I knew it, I was riding about 100 miles per hour coming to the next little town. I eased out of the gas and tried to relax as my heart was beating out of my chest. What the F? That thing just appeared out of nowhere. I had my brights on the entire time, and it went from being a silhouette in the distance to gone, and then right there on the shoulder, less than 10 feet from me. Needless to say, I couldn't concentrate on work the entire day as I tried to rationalize what it could have been. And that evening on the way home, I paid close attention to the right-of-way on the other side of the road, hoping to find that there actually was a lone cedar tree that had grown up in the tall grasses that I hadn't noticed before. Nope. Not a single tree for 13 miles growing between the roadway and the fence. I'm pretty sure we all know what I saw. But why? Why there? Why then? Why was it not visible the entire time? Why was it just standing there? Since then, it seems that every time I go out into the wooded area, something happens to remind me that they're around. The latest happened when my wife and I were biking a rails to trails, where old rail beds are turned into hiking/biking trails. And even though I expect something, it always catches me off guard. And I have a rule for myself that each time I go into a wooded area, I think to myself, I'm just passing through and I don't mean any harm. If they truly can communicate telepathically, I hope they get my message, as I don't want trouble. Well, anyway, as we're riding the trail and coming up to a section where it goes over a creek and is darkly shaded, I said those words in my head. It's only about 150 to 200 yards wide stretch of heavily wooded area, and we rode through without incident, even stopping on the bridge to look over at the creek and watch the fish in the clear water. After riding several miles further, we turned around and started back for the Jeep. And when we came up on this same bridge and wooded area, I again said to myself, we're just passing through and mean no harm. But I added, let me know if you're around just to say hello. My wife was ahead of me by a few seconds, maybe 50 yards, and as she rode off the other end of the bridge, I just started over it. I heard a loud thump in the trees to my left. I looked over to where the sound was, but it was too thick to see anything. The only way I can describe the sound was that of dropping a 10-pound bag of flour onto the ground from about chest level, or a soft, padded foot stomping forcefully. I smiled and said thanks in my mind, and I rode on. Catching up to my wife, I asked if she had heard the thump, and she hadn't. And I told her how it sounded like dropping a big bag of flour, and she just laughed, telling me that she doubted anyone was walking through the woods with a bag of flour. We didn't say another word about it. So this did end up being longer than I expected, but to cut to the chase, I think these creatures can and do understand our thoughts somehow. Agreed. Don't ask me how, but it's happened too many times for me to simply write it off as a coincidence. Or maybe it's just their own intuition that lets them know who they can trust or not. Either way, I think there's way more to this than we'll ever know. I ask myself if the attacks, or supposed attacks, people who disappear, simply got too close for comfort. What do you do when a bear gets too close? You make noise so they know you are. You make noise so they know where you are and go the other direction, right? Does the bear speak English? Does the bear know hand signals? No. The bear simply understands that he/she is invading your space and knows that you're potentially deadly, so they turn and go in another direction. And what happens if the bear doesn't change direction or charges? What do? I'd imagine you protect yourself with everything you have. Wouldn't the same hold true for a Sasquatch? They give warnings that you're in the area and the closer you get to the place that they're guarding, maybe young in the area. The more forceful the warnings get, ignore them altogether and keep advancing, and what do you expect their reaction to be? I, for one, know that I would defend my kids with all means necessary. I'm hoping that if they indeed can hear my thoughts somehow, that my assuring them that I mean no harm and don't plan on sticking around somehow lets them know that they don't need to escalate the situation. It's worked for me so far. Again, thanks for what you do, and I hope this wasn't too damn long to read. Phil. Nope, it wasn't, my man. It's all good. Excuse me. I do the same shit. I mean, I mix it up. I'll say a prayer at the beginning each time I go, especially when I have Sarah with me. Just pray for safety, safe time, safe passage to and back home, to the woods and back home, whatever we're doing. And then also when I'm in the woods by myself, I usually always say out loud, just leave me alone. You know I know you are here, and I know that you know I'm here, and you know what I'm doing. And that's got nothing to do with you. Right? It seems to be, well, it kind of works for me. It works for me for the most part. Nobody's screaming in my face. Not yet. Nobody's chasing me, nobody's pacing me. Not yet anyway. Have they had opportunity to? Hundreds of times, right? But anyway, moving along. I'm going back in. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to start packing my stuff here pretty quick to get out of here and head north. Sarah wants me to take her hunting one more time and see if we can get her first deer. And what else? There's also, we got a postal strike going on here, right? And I forget how it works. She managed to get a bunch of packages shipped the other day. Somehow they alternate so that it doesn't get totally backlogged. But there's a postal strike going on, so some stuff's taking a little longer to get to you from her store. The howtohuntstore.com, where you can get these things right here that are on my head, or some t-shirts, or other hats, camouflage hats. She's got a handful of stuff still in her store, if you want to hit that up. Her cookbook apparently should be ready right now. I'm going to find out. But I hope it's not a letdown for her, because I have a feeling she's getting screwed over. We'll see. Share my story at howtohunt.com. That's where you get your truth shared, all right? So get it to me. Don't be scared. I'll share it. And you're safe to do it here. And I'll be back tomorrow. Later.
I don't see it. You will. He's looking at us and his body's covered. Do you see this little black branch in front of us going like that? Yeah. He's right behind the tip of it. There, take a look at that. See him? Nope. Good look. He's straight back there with a white face looking right at us. Head back there in that sludge. Take a look with the binoculars. Fuck. Take your time and look. He's looking right at us.
I don't know where to look.
I know. Fuck, he's right there. Okay, see this black stick going like this right in front of us, 10 feet from us. The black stick going that way. He's right past it, past the tip. Put the binoculars on that black stick and look past it.